So I was standing on the foot of a hill, and I was anxious. This was the most anxious that I've ever been in my entire life. I'd never been this anxious. I was surrounded by hundreds and hundreds of kids my age who were running around and yucking it up and were excited and everything was going on, but I was nervous. That particular night, I had one thing on my mind and everything else didn't matter to me. I didn't care what was going on. I didn't care that my friends were having fun. I was focused on the task at hand. My good friend Clint and I, we had worked out a plan and I was ready to go and I was confident and I was going to fulfill this plan like no other plan I'd ever fulfilled in my life. And as I stared up the long walkway, all of a sudden she appeared at the top of the hill. Amber was coming. I was ready. I was about to work up the courage to ask Amber to be my girlfriend, and this was going to be so suave. I was going to be Rico Suave. The plan was perfect and had to absolutely work. I mean, yes, she was from Clovis, and at that time I had no idea where Clovis was, and I was from Reno. But distance can't get in the way of young love, right? I was ready. I was going to ask her. I was so excited. And as she strolled down the hill towards me, like an angel descending from heaven, I was ready. I was confident. I was ready to go. I was ready with these words that I had, that Clint and I had talked about, and I was excited. And she came up to me, and she looked at me, and I said, "Hey." Not quite as smooth as I had hoped. Not quite as smooth, but I knew I could recover. We were going to walk down to an amphitheater. We were about to go watch a play that was going to be performed. And as we were walking down, I came up with the perfect plan. You see, we were going to walk side by side. And instead of holding my hands like this, like I normally do when I walk, I was going to swing my hands back and forth, with perhaps hoping that the stars would have been aligned just right, and the angels would be singing just right, and our hands would brush up against each other, and I would be able to grab her hand and hold it. That was my move. That was my move at the very last second, and it worked. All of a sudden, I felt our knuckles brush, and she grabbed my hand and started to hold it, and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm holding a girl's hand that is not my mother's. This is amazing. But there was still a plan to hatch. There was still a plan to follow through. Nothing was going to get in my way of this moment. I was holding Amber's hand, and I was holding it tight, and I wasn't going to let it go throughout the whole play. Not even the silly play that was being put on by the camp, this play called Way of the Cross. It wasn't going to get in my way because I had entered into the way of the 7th grade romance, and nothing was coming between that. And as the play began, I kept trying to figure out, how am I going to ask this question? What's it going to look like? I don't want to flood the words. I want to get it just right. But as the play began, all of these kids that were running around and screaming and going crazy suddenly fell silent. And so I couldn't do it as we moved from scene to scene throughout the camp. I couldn't ask her as we were moving, otherwise everybody would have heard me. And I didn't want to make the other girls jealous, of course. It's not true. Anyway, but as everybody grew more and more silent, I had no choice but to begin to listen to what was going on and watch what was unfolding right in front of me, and watch the story of Jesus. Watch the last days of Jesus' life as I walked through this camp, and I became more and more engrossed in the story. And finally, when Jesus was being nailed to the cross, and I heard the actor that was playing Jesus, I don't know what happened to him. I think he went on to be a banker, but that night he could have won the Academy Award. Because I've never heard an actor scream the way he did as the nails were being hammered in. And in that moment, I remember thinking to myself, I want to know more about this. This matters. Like Pastor Ruth wasn't lying. This is important stuff. It was, I think I've told this story before, but it was the first time for me that in 7th grade, I decided I want to know more about Jesus. It was the first time I understood that Jesus wasn't just this guy that we talked about and put up on flannel boards in Sunday school, that he really mattered in my life. When the play was over, I realized that I was still holding Amber's hand but had no interest in whatever my plan was. I was moved for the first time by the story of Christ. And as we broke camp and everybody went up to their cabins, we sat down in the cabin to talk as a group, and our camp counselor Steve said, well, what do you guys think? And all of a sudden, the first hand to go up was a guy by the name of Matt. On the first day of camp, we'd been there for 5 days, and on the first day of camp, Matt walked into our cabin and said, listen guys, I just want you to know I don't believe in any of this stuff. I don't believe any of it. I think it's all a lie. I'm just telling you that I'm here for the girls, I'm here for the food, and I'm here to get away from my parents, but I have no interest in any of this stuff. And it was very clear to us as the week went, that he had no interest in anything that had to do with faith. And yet after this, his hand shot up and he said, I know I told you guys I don't believe in any of this stuff. I'm not sure if I do or not. He said, but I sure hope this story is true. He says it's such an amazing story. I hope it's true. I'll never forget those words. I mean, here was this kid who had no interest in faith, and all of a sudden he says, I hope it's true. I got to do more investigation about it. It was a powerful moment, for me at least, and for our camp counselor. Dad did backflips out the door because finally he'd reached Matt. Always be ready to make your defense to anyone who demands for an accounting for the hope that is within you. These are the words from Peter. These are also the words that inspired the book that we're reading in our Lenten book study. Larry Muller wrote a book, and it's the account of stories that of people that he interviewed asking the question, what is the reason for the hope that is within you? Asked it to complete strangers on airplanes. I mean, he's the guy that you don't want to sit next to on the airplane because he'll ask you that question. But if you're reading the book, you've heard some amazing stories of where people's hope comes from. So this is Peter. And right away when I read these words from Peter, I start to get a little bit nervous. I start to get a little bit nervous about what Peter has to say. He says, always be ready. That's not me. I'm not always ready. In fact, the translation that I've been working with, it says, always be prepared, which is a word that makes me just a little bit anxious because I'm not a preparer. I don't work best when I have a long time to plan things. I work best when my back is up against the wall. The best grade I ever got in seminary was a 98%, a 15-page paper on pastoral care that we were given 3 weeks in advance to work on, and I started at 10 p.m. the night before it was due in an 8 a.m. class and got a 98%. My wife is back there, she can remember that particular night. I don't like taking the time to prepare. It's just not the way I operate. I want to hit the ground running, and when I'm able to do that, I'm fine. So what is all this preparing that Peter's talking about in our lesson for today? What are we supposed to prepare? When you hear these words from Peter, what is your reaction? To always be prepared to give a defense for the hope that is within you. What is your reaction when you hear Peter say that even if you should suffer for what is right, you are blessed? Do you believe that? Have you suffered? Have you felt blessed in the midst of suffering? Sometimes I hear those words and that does not help me because I don't feel blessed. Peter tells us to always be ready to make our defense to anyone who demands for an accounting. As I hear that question, I keep wondering to myself, why would anybody do that? I don't know about you, but I've never had anybody come up to me, a stranger nonetheless, and say, what is the reason for the hope in your life? That's never happened to me. Has it happened to you? I don't know how I would answer if somebody came up randomly and asked me that question. So as I was thinking about this message from 1 Peter, I decided to go back and just read the entire book of 1 Peter just to get a better idea of what Peter's trying to say. And as I read through these words from the scripture today, I kept thinking, this is the rock that Jesus was talking about in the Gospels. We don't find this Peter in the Gospel very often. The Peter that I remember is the Peter who was always the one who tried to be out ahead of everybody else. Peter was the one who always thought he had the right answer, but Jesus would always look at him and go, no, Peter, that's not what we're talking about. What happened to Peter? What happened that all of a sudden in this letter from 1 Peter, he's so confident? And he says that suffering is a blessing. I mean, what happened to the Peter who, when people recognized who he was and that he was a follower of Jesus, what happened to the guy that denied him 3 times? What happened to the guy that scattered at the crucifix? What happened to that Peter? That's the Peter that I know. Now, in this letter, he embraces his suffering and tells his readers that they're blessed because of it. I don't know about you, but when I read 1 Peter and compare it to the Peter of the Gospels, it makes me want to hear more about who Peter was. It makes me want to be able to sit down with Peter and take him to Starbucks and have a conversation with him and say, Peter, you've got to tell me everything. Because I read what you said in the Gospels, and then you write this letter, and you talk about how suffering is a blessing. Tell me about that. Tell me your story. How did you come to that place in your life? It must be an amazing story of faith. This week we continue our Lenten journey towards Easter with the message, engaging the hope that is within you. And the reason that I tell you that confirmation camp story is that for me, in that moment, that was where I started to realize what hope was. That was the moment that Jesus became very real for me. You see, in confirmation, as soon as I started in 7th grade, our pastor, Pastor Ruth, God bless her, used to always say to us, you know, when you're confirmed, you're going to have to stand up in front of the congregation, and you're going to have to give a reason for the hope that is within you. She would quote 1 Peter all the time. You're going to have to tell them why you believe in the faith that you believe. She would constantly be asking us, what is the reason for that? And every time she said it in 7th grade, I would think to myself, I don't know that I have an answer for that, Pastor Ruth. I mean, when she would ask, what is the reason for the hope within you, we would always say, well, Jesus, of course, because that's the answer that you give. But inside I wondered, what if I don't have the right answer? What if it's wrong? I can't just get up in front of the congregation and say, Jesus, and be confirmed. And so I didn't really know what it looked like. It wasn't until my encounter with Jesus that night in the Santa Cruz Mountains that I came to understand the reason for the hope that was in me. It wasn't until Matthew raised his hand. It wasn't until he raised his hand and said, I hope this story is true. So when did you discover the reason for the hope that is within you? You'll notice this week that you only have one blank on your sermon notes to fill in. And I promise you it's not because I wasn't prepared for this message. The reason there's only one blank is because I can't give you what the reason is. We all know that the answer is Jesus, but how did you arrive to that being the answer? What are your reasons? What is your story? I don't know your story. I have not lived your life. Who is the person in your life that taught you about hope? What are the moments in your life when you had your back up against the wall? You had your back up against the wall and you've suffered and you feel like there's nobody else around you that understands what you're going through. What is that thing inside of you that says, but there's always tomorrow? What is that thing inside of you that says, this too shall pass? What is that thing deep down inside of you that got you moving forward one step at a time? What is the hope that is within you? You see, I believe what Peter is trying to say, not only is he telling us, be prepared to give a defense for the hope that is within us, I believe what Peter's trying to tell us is, we all have a story to share. We have a story to tell. Every single one of you has a reason that you're sitting here this morning. You have a powerful story to tell. And it's the story of your faith. Your story of hope is God's story. So when Paul tells us to be prepared to give a reason, it's an invitation for you to share your stories. It's not a command that when somebody asks you about your faith that you're supposed to have a certain number of Bible verses memorized and you're supposed to be able to pull from Scripture whenever you want. I don't think that that's what he's talking about. Not Paul. It's not a command to unload everything that we know about the Bible. Peter isn't telling us to impress people with our knowledge of faith. He's telling us that our stories matter, and he's telling us that our story is God's stories, and that is where hope is born. He's telling us to be our true and authentic selves, because your true and authentic self is absolutely your best self. Our stories matter. Our stories can touch people in ways that they never imagined. You have a powerful story to tell, and your story matters to those around you. So as Pastor Brian said, today we will be confirming 4 confirmation students. 4 guys. I've never had a group of 4 guys, 4 ninth graders. And I got to tell you, there's something about this group that I've never experienced before in my life. I think I could count the number of words that they've said this entire year. They are the quietest group of guys that I've ever had a confirmation class with. They just don't talk. And so when we talk about faith and I ask them questions about, well guys, tell me about hope, tell me about God, what is the most important thing in your life? They always say Jesus, because I've taught them well. I've taught them that that's the answer. They may not know how to get to Jesus, but they know that that is the answer. But I'm not the only one that's taught them that. You all have played a huge role in that. This church, their parents, everybody who's been praying for them and talking with them and being mentors to them, they have played a huge role in their faith formation. They have helped to build a solid foundation. They know the answer to everything is Jesus. They may not know how they get there. But I encourage them to share their stories. I encourage them to continue to seek out God no matter what it is that they're going through. And I ask you, their brothers and sisters, to continue to pray for them. I ask you to continue to share your faith stories with them. They matter. They have a huge impact. Let them know that you've been praying for them. Let them know your story of faith. Share with them your Kairos moments, those moments in your life where God has moved in your life. You have a powerful story to tell, and it is powerful because it's God's story. Pray for our boys. They are great kids. They're going to go on to do amazing things. Always be ready to make, always be ready to make your defense to anyone who demands an accounting for the hope that is within you, Peter tells us. Because of this church, because of your prayers, because of the love that you have shown these guys and the love that you have shown each other, there is hope. Their stories are powerful, and yours are as well. May you go out and share with everyone you come into contact with. Amen. And may the peace of the Lord be with you always.